Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight, the moment so many people have been waiting for a long time. And myself included. Not that I've been waiting to make this video, but waiting finally to get a frickin' match that was decent enough to post on YouTube. And this hunk of garbage. Now, you guys know I'm not a fan of German ships. The inaccuracies, all the things, I'm just not a big fan. However, going back into the Gneisenau has been an interesting experience, and I will go over some of those things now. But without further ado, let's jump into the commander. First of all, we're using auto celiacs. We have Hipper and Jojard as our inspirations. We have Brawler, Porcupine. You could go crisscross, but honestly, having better secondaries can't be a bad thing on a Brawler, even if there aren't that many secondaries on the ship. Firefighter comes in handy. Repair party, amount of repair or HP recovered, and because we have this guy legendary 2 and all the way up to 16, we get 2 charges instead of 1. And finally, the amount of HP recovered again. So, back to the Gneisenau itself, we have Aiming Systems Mod 1, Propulsion Mod 2, and Target Acquisition Mod 1. And then, of course, we're fully upgraded. Now, for the loadout, we're using just Type 3 camo, which gives us a reduced range of detection and a little bit reduced dispersion, or a little bit increased dispersion for the enemies, just to give us a little bit extra, because we're going to need it. But notice we have 5 repair parties. That's a huge thing on these German ships. Just being able to survive long enough to get in range to be useful is a huge thing with these German ships. Now, survivability, 58,200 hit points, 22% torpedo reduction. It's got 380mm guns. It's got 6 of them. They're inaccurate as crap. They only have a firing range of 14.5 kilometers due to our build. Their reload is 23.4 seconds, which is respectable. It's not slow. The turret traverse time seems better than most battleships. I'm not comparing these directly with anybody, but just from feel, they feel like they rotate faster than most battleships. Somebody will have to let me know in the comments below what they think. Anyway, HE shell, we've got 4,400 maximum damage there with a 34% chance to set on fire, which isn't bad. AP damage, we get 12,122 maximum damage for the AP shell. And secondaries, you have 22 128mm guns, and they fire HE, which is nice. The fact that they fire HE is good. They're all HE firing secondaries. So again, we have a lot. It's 22, it's 11 per side. Or, no, it isn't. I mean, it's weird. They're two gun turrets. There's 11 two-gun turrets. So there's one that's in a weird spot that's going to screw everything up. But you get that. Anyway, overview. Ironclad, we've got above average armor thickness, greater resistance to all forms of penetration. Now, this is the thing that I was kind of hinting at has changed with this ship. Back when I originally played this ship, it was a glass cannon, and it couldn't do a dang thing. Like, you used all of your hit points trying to get in range to torpedo one ship. It was insane. Now, it's much more tanky. This ship is tanky, period. It is tanky. It can deal, especially with a Brawler build where they can't even burn you down quickly. Like, this thing is tanky as hell compared to the other German ships and compared to any other battleship in the game. This thing is tanky. You point the nose of this thing at something, and you're going to be able to take it for a long time. I've shoved this thing right down the enemy's throats, kind of like I do with the Graf Spee, and it still survives for an incredible amount of time, as long as you're not getting torped into oblivion. And even when you do get torped into oblivion, the heals that you have kind of help get rid of some of that as well. Secondary reach, above average secondary main battery range, and it has modest guns. It's got low caliber main battery guns. That's pretty normal for the Germans. The Gneisenau, a high-speed battleship that was close to battlecruiser type. Under the rearmament project, she was equipped with 380mm guns that enabled her to fight off larger contemporary ships. Among her drawbacks were her small number of main guns and weak horizontal armor. In other words, don't go broadside. But if you keep it pointed where it's supposed to, you'll be fine. the horizontal armor may also be as far as deck armor. Somebody will have to let me know in the comments below if that's what it's talking about as far as horizontal armor. Maybe it's just weak deck armor. But you'd think if that's the case, then they would just put that in there. Weak deck armor. Just put that in there. Wargaming. I don't know. Anyway, that is the first look, and now for some gameplay. Alrighty, so with that being said, here we are on Estuary, and we are in the Gneisenau. Now, you guys have already seen my commander build and everything. And first thing that a lot of people are going to be asking, Spartan, if I remember correctly, you said you like to go with a nice mix between a dispersion build and a secondary build on your German battleships. So what happened? Well, I realized that on these German battleships, you really need the extra survivability that comes with the tank build. So as you can see, we've got Celiacs all the way up to tier number 5 or tier 16, legendary 2, I believe, and that gives us the ability to have 5 heals. Those 5 heals come in handy with these German ships. Now, first of all, I'm top tier in this match. That's huge. Being top tier in any battleship is amazing. Well, being top tier in any ship is amazing, let alone battleships. Now, this is this is a little bit different than most of the Meet the Ships videos that I have done over the years. Like I've been doing this a long time, or at least the last year. And the difference is, most of the time when I do the Meet the Ships, it's usually, I've only played, you know, less than 20 matches in a ship, trying to get good enough game for everybody to see, and then I go over the talking points of the ship with my build and everything for you guys to check out. This is a little bit different. I've played way more games than that in the Gneisenau. Some before, or back when it was originally released, and now. So I can give you a little bit more of an insight into why I hated the ship so much and why I still dislike it, but I don't exactly hate it anymore. Back in the day, when it was first released, it had the same problem that all of the other German battleships had, which is the armor just didn't work. Like, it just straight up didn't work. So just like the Tirpitz and the Bismarck, you just got citadeled into oblivion. You couldn't close the distance and use the ship for what it's for. You couple that with the fact that everybody knows you're trying to get close to use your torpedoes, and on top of that, when you try to use your guns, the guns still are worse dispersion than the Japanese most of the time. So you're not guaranteed to actually hit what you're aiming at, even with a full dispersion build. And then when you do hit, the shells tend to shatter, which is not preferable. So that was my issue with the Gneisenau. However, most of those have been fixed, and by most of those, I mean the armor has been fixed. This thing is a tanky girl, or a guy. Technically, I guess it would be a guy, since the Germans like their male ships. You know, to each their own. We don't judge. Anyway, we have put ourselves right in the middle of one of the nastiest firefights you're ever going to see at Tier 6. You've got ships shooting you from every which direction. We got cruisers, we got battleships, we got torpedoes coming from left and right, literally. We've got a destroyer sitting in the smoke screen who seems to not really want to do anything, but we had launched our torpedoes at the Scharnhorst on our left, and we connect with 2 out of the 3 that we launched. So that means he's hurting. And that means we have the advantage. And he's already blown his torpedoes. We've seen them. So we're going to bow tank the Scharnhorst and just get him off the board. He doesn't scare us whatsoever. He's already launched his torpedoes. So now we're just bow tanking, and we are going to be able to punch him in the mouth. Now, at this sort of range, even a German battleship struggles to miss. We hit all 4 rounds. We only got 1 penetration, 1 overpen. The other one was a bounce, and the other one was a shatter. Because German, it's terrible. But the Scharnhorst isn't going to be able to get away with this. Now, he's trying to turn back away to get his torpedoes off, right? Unfortunately, he doesn't get to a spot where he can do that. And we're not going to put ourselves in a position to catch those torpedoes, even if he did get it. And I've kind of got myself in a pickle here. What do? Do I charge forward and hope that he didn't fire the torpedoes? do a reverse back and stay broadside on to half the enemy team, while also being shot by the battleship and cruiser on the other side of the map, because there's only one battleship over there for my team, and he doesn't seem to be interested in fighting? Or do I just take it like a man, back out broadside on in a German battleship, and pray to God nobody can citadel me? Well, you can kind of get a good idea of what I thought was the better play here. And that was, I know who's over here, I know what they're capable of, and I think that I can survive it with all of my heals. Now, we've already burned one heal, and we're probably pretty close to knocking out a second one. Luckily, the Leander decides to go full broadside. Unfortunately, we only get 4 over penetrations out of 6 rounds that I shot him, or shot at him. It's unfortunate. But that's the life of the German battleships. You just don't guarantee hits. Unfortunately, the Hood is the quite opposite of that. It definitely does hit almost every single shell, because the British accuracy is pretty insane in this game. It may not be the strongest hitting guns in the world, but they're not bad. And it hits in volume. Whereas we struggle to hit at all. But we're at such short range that we shouldn't be having too much trouble. Now, I am backing towards the Leander at the moment. I believe it's a Leander. Maybe it's the Pensacola. I can't remember. I think it's a Leander. And I'm letting the secondaries open up on him. And I'm not really worried about turning to fire at him. I want to get the battleships off the board first. Because as you can see, they're the only ones really doing any damage to me. They're trying. I've got the Pensacola now firing HE at me for some reason. I'm a broadside battleship, and you've got amazing American armor piercing, but fire your high explosive, I don't care. Now, as you can see, we've already burned another heal, but as soon as that heal comes back off a cooldown, we're definitely going to be using it again. Now, Pensacola's broadside on, and this thing, it earns the name Floating Citadel of Sadness on this channel for a reason. Unfortunately, it doesn't live up to that in that first salvo, but then again, it's German. It's lucky to hit it at all at 10 kilometers. Let alone citadel it into oblivion like most ships would at these sort of ranges. Leander should be in a prime position to get paddled here. But again, we're German, and we completely miss him at 9.5 kilometers, and we are just getting punched in the mouth. No longer can I stay broadside onto these guys. It's time to start turning towards them. And as you can see, that was a much better salvo. This time, Pensacola, you play with RNG long enough, there's a reason you're called the Floating Citadel of Sadness. Wait for it. Pow! Down he goes. You just can't do that, Pensacola. Even if you're bow tanking, you're taking a heck of a risk. But when you're broadside on, you're basically guaranteeing your own demise in a Pensacola. And the Hood is very similar in that nature, because it has enough armor to arm the shells, and you generally get citadels. However, I aim a little too far forward, giving them a little too much lead. We get good penetrations. We got 4 full penetrations, taking a lot of damage from him. Unfortunately, my teammate doesn't kill him quite quick enough, and he gets another salvo away, taking us from, what was it, 11,000 or 12,000 damage or health, all the way down to 3,000. Now, right now, I need to back off. I need to slow down. I need to put up my airplane so that I can see where they're at. Obviously, I've got a battleship behind me. I don't want that to happen. But we know that Leander is still out here. And so Leander comes barreling around the corner. We only got 3,000 health, and we need to survive for at least 20 seconds to use our last heal. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out in my favor, because he gets some of the best RNG I've ever seen out of his 152mm armor piercing. He gets a nasty couple penetrations that in this salvo that just absolutely punch through the deck armor and punch me in the mouth. And I didn't get my torpedoes away, and of course I only hit him with two rounds. I mean, how can you put such a big cruiser broadside on at 5.5 kilometers and miss him with every round except one in 2 salvos in a row? Now, the reload time on the thing is not bad. And it is very, very tanky, as you saw. We put ourselves in a stupid position, to be quite frank. I mean, we literally just stuck ourselves in there and said, sink me if you can. And they did eventually. Though we did more to them than they did to us. So that's the thing. However, this Fiji had a rush of shit to the brain here. And he decides, I'm going to go out here and throw myself away, regardless of the fact that he was at the base when they started capping. Now, the good news is, he does manage to take out the enemy Gneisenau. So I guess it's a fair trade. However, that means that everything hinges on this one Fiji. And this one Fiji is bound and determined to throw this match. Watch the difference between these two Fiji players. Alright? This is the exact same ship on both sides. One is broadside on and can't even use its rear guns yet, launching torpedoes at a bow-tanking cruiser at 6 kilometers, and now goes full broadside on. And remember, we had full health at the start of this engagement. Full broadside on, and is basically doing next to nothing to the enemy Fiji, who is bow-tanking us in return. Meanwhile, the enemy Fiji is getting some significant hits against us. It is a thing. And the closer we get, the more likely he is to get nasty penetrations and citadels through the side of this ship. Fortunately for us, we do manage to get the kill on the enemy Fiji. But we gave up 2/3 of our health to do it. That guy had 1/3 of his health, and he took 2/3 of our health. And then it came down to a destroyer that had no health. And a British cruiser versus a destroyer's not even a fair fight. 112,000 damage, top of the leaderboard, 2100 base XP with 3 kills. Not bad. One of my better matches I've ever had in the Gneisenau. I'm not a big fan of the ship, but you guys have asked for this for a long time, so hopefully I did not disappoint you. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.